All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're unpacking a really urgent keynote speech by Dato Ahmad Azam Rahman. In this explainer, we're tackling a seriously complex issue, managing the Rohingya refugee situation in Malaysia. Let's get straight to the heart of what he's saying.
Right out of the gate, Dato Azam hits us with this stark reality. He makes it crystal clear that we can't look at this crisis like it's a hurricane or a flood. It's a deliberate, man-made tragedy. And recognizing that is absolutely crucial, because it forces us to look at the actual root of the problem rather than just the symptoms.
Which brings us to the first big theme of his speech, the deeper disease moving from Myanmar to Malaysia.
He traces the origins of this crisis straight back to structural Islamophobia. The speech explicitly points the finger at the Myanmar military junta and the Arakan army. It argues that the systematic abuses, the mass killings, the forced expulsions, all of that stems from this systemic, structural denial of identity and belonging.
Now, here's where he draws a pretty uncomfortable parallel. Over in Myanmar, the tactics are physical violence and expulsion. But Dato Azam warns that a similar kind of viral infection is spreading locally in Malaysia. The exact same dehumanizing logic used to justify persecution over there is popping up here, showing up as narratives that paint refugees as criminals, disease carriers, or even invaders.
So, let's break down Section 2. Who actually benefits and who loses? To really dissect this, the speech uses a specific rhetorical framework.
He asks the audience a classic Latin legal question, cui bono, which basically translates to, who actually gains when this kind of xenophobia goes viral? And the answer? Well, it's definitely not everyday citizens. The real winners here, according to the speech, are the Myanmar military junta because they face way less international pressure when the victims are the ones getting blamed. It's also the human traffickers and smugglers operating in the shadows, exploiting people's fears. And of course, political opportunists who literally monetize all that division. Basically, the perpetrators are the ones cashing in.
Which naturally leads us to the flip side of that coin. Cui domino. Who loses? Who is actually getting hurt by all this unchecked incitement?
The fallout outlined here is massive. Obviously, the Rohingya themselves are re-victimized. But Dato Azam points out that Malaysian society is taking a huge hit too, as social cohesion breaks down into vigilante chaos. On top of that, Malaysia's global standing and its moral authority as a compassionate leader take a major dive on the world stage. Plus, regional stability is threatened by fueling transnational crime. So yeah, the ripple effects impact literally everyone.
Okay, moving into Section 3, from hate to policy, and how to expedite humanitarian management.
The source takes a super firm stance here. It argues that hate speech is not free speech. It's straight-up incitement. Furthermore, encouraging everyday people to go out and make so-called citizen arrests is unlawful, it's dangerous, and it directly goes against Islamic teachings about protecting the vulnerable. The message is clear. Leave law enforcement strictly to the police and the courts.
So what's the actual actionable solution? Well, the most immediate step he advocates for is documentation. But let's be really clear about what that means, because this distinction is absolutely vital. Documentation does not mean citizenship, and it doesn't mean permanent settlement. Documentation is about responsible humanitarian management. It's a critical security measure that actually empowers the state to know exactly who is inside the country.
By fast-tracking verifiable biometric registration, you unlock a bunch of practical benefits. Refugees can do legal work in approved sectors, which cuts down on their reliance on the shadow economy. Kids get access to education, people can actually go to the doctor, which stops treatable diseases from turning into wider public health threats. And, maybe most importantly, a registered population is legally accountable to local laws.
This brings us to our final section, a whole-of-society compact. Let's look at the proposed National Action Plan.
Dato Azam lays out this rapid 6-step roadmap to get the government and civil society on the same page. Step 1. Fast-track biometric registration. Step 2. Grant access to basic education and health. Step 3. Strictly enforce the laws against hate speech, both online and off. Step 4. Stop those vigilante arrests immediately. Step 5. Push public education through community and religious leaders. And finally, Step 6. Keep up robust international diplomacy to hold Myanmar accountable. We're going to wrap up with this really profound final thought from the keynote. It's a direct challenge to the audience asking how a nation can lead with both absolute security and humanity. He says, let us choose policy over prejudice, registration over rejection, compassion with order. This explainer really highlights how creating clear policy can help navigate even the messiest crises, but it definitely leaves us with something heavy to think about. If hate speech can be weaponized this effectively across borders, what is our own responsibility in stopping that virus before it rewrites our own nation's policies?